A quick look at the news. Congressman Peter King will begin holding controversial hearings this Thursday on what he calls the radicalization of American Muslims. Yesterday, hundreds of people gathered in Times Square to criticize the move, saying it unfairly singles out Muslims. But Congressman King defended the hearings.
There's been self-radicalization going on within the Muslim community, within a very small minority, but it's there, and that's where the threat is coming from at this time. To be having investigations into every type of violence will be suggesting an equivalency that's not there. I mean, Eric Holder is not saying he's staying awake at night because of what's coming from anti-abortion demonstrators or coming from environmental extremists or from neo-Nazis.
King's critics include Minnesota Democrat Keith Ellison, the first Muslim elected to Congress. He calls the hearing a witch hunt, telling CNN yesterday that investigating a particular religious minority is, quote, the wrong course of action to take.
Ezra, what do you think? Obviously, there is a threat there, but it seems to me, especially after this summer and the ugliness in New York, Peter King needs to be very careful, very responsible.
And I think he needs to back off. I think Ellison is right. And I think if Eric Holder was staying up at night, then he can launch an investigation. What King is doing is not launching a serious investigation. What King is doing is launching publicity-pounding hearings. He is trying to make his name bigger. He's doing something big and in public to scare people. That is not the same as a serious law enforcement effort to look at radicalization in the Muslim community.
What do you think?
Look, I think the Muslim community is particularly vulnerable to an approach from abroad to try to radicalize them and make them enemies of America. That's legitimate. Every politician, frankly, raises himself up with hearings like that. I think we ought to wait and see what Peter King does.
No, do you not think there is a threat of the radicalization of a small group of Muslims here? Like, for instance, England, obviously, it's a much bigger problem in England than
we've not seen it yet, and there are good reasons we've not seen it in America in a serious way yet. The Muslim community here is very different, much further.
That brings up
deep misunderstanding.
Major Hassan killed 13 army guys and wounded 41.
But there's not a ton of evidence that was a radicalization in the American community. We've had spree shooters in America.
Abroad.
We've had school shootings from young Christians.
But these are guys abroad are reaching into the United States by various modern media, and they're recruiting, and kids are listening to it. I think opening that up, I agree with you. Look, don't demonize Muslims, but there's no doubt
How
Muslims
does he not
are
demonize Muslims doing this?
Because radical Muslims...
You have one example here, and we're talking about an investigation into an entire religious community. We have brought from the one to the whole very quickly, and people need to be very careful doing that.
Who is most susceptible or vulnerable to the kind of recruitment coming out of the radical Islam? It's American Muslims.
Why do we think they're so vulnerable to it?
Well, why? You think Irish are vulnerable?
There are neo-Nazis who claim they're Christians.
Well, look, if there were
Nazis... Is the Christian community in America so deeply vulnerable to neo-Nazism?
The North American Bund, I would be watching those guys if you got Hitler over there broadcasting in the United States.
But we do have those guys there, and we've not seen a ton happening.
Wow.
Guys, we're going to do this for the next 3 hours. Stay with us.
All right.